All right, well, good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is having a terrific evening so far. We're going to go ahead and get ourselves started in just about 30 seconds or so. So I'll invite all of our members of the Board of Directors and other invited guests to go ahead and turn your camera on and join me on screen. We have lots of owners in attendance here this evening, so we have already met our quorum requirements, which is just terrific. So we're going to be able to go ahead and get ourselves started nice and promptly at 7 o'clock. We have about 15 seconds to go. And as soon as our countdown finishes, we'll go ahead and get ourselves started. We'll just keep everybody on mute until or unless it's their opportunity to ask a question or make a comment. For those of you who are attendees, at the relevant times, we will unmute you to allow you to ask questions or make a comment as well. And we'll just go ahead and get ourselves started now. I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen share and call our meeting to order. So again, welcome everyone to the AGM for OCSCC number 1106. We're going to start off with a couple of housekeeping issues. First and foremost, you'll see this meeting is not being recorded here this evening. We have, of course, a recording secretary, a minute taker with us here this evening. Thank you so much for attending. So minutes will be taken in the usual course, so you don't have to worry about any audio or visual images of yourself being released without consent, because there is no audio or visual recording being made here this evening. Next, you'll see I have the chat function activated. The chat function is for technical questions. If you have a technical question with respect to the affairs of the corporation, you can go ahead and put that in the chat, and we'll do our best to help you out here. Otherwise, all of the other business of the meeting will be taken during the raised hand function, So if you have a question at the relevant time with respect to the affairs of the corporation, go ahead and raise your hand. We will unmute you, and then you can ask your question live on screen so that all the owners can participate in the meeting together. That's one of the reasons we don't take questions in the Q&A or the chat, is to make sure that we have a concurrent interactive meeting here this evening, so that everybody can ask questions in the order in which their hands are raised and everybody can hear those answers. So the final housekeeping issue that we want to deal with here this evening is, of course, panelists and attendees. Your panelists are on screen. They're your board members and various attendees, and I'll introduce them in just a couple of quick moments. And otherwise, everybody else is an attendee here this evening. You have all the same abilities to ask questions, raise your hands. You'll get to vote at the relevant times as an attendee here this evening. If at any point in time you have trouble with your audio or visual images, or so your audio images, we'll go ahead and promote you to panelist for the purposes of asking your question. So don't worry if there are technical issues, we'll deal with those as if and as they may arise. So the difference between the attendee and the panelist primarily is the ability to have your camera on. If you are a candidate for an election here this evening, we will invite you to become a panelist at that time so you can turn your camera on as well and address your fellow owners. All right. Let's go ahead and jump into the items on the agenda here. We will be following the agenda in the order in which it was presented here this evening. Item number 1 was our technical matters. We went through some of those technical matters already. Item number 2 was our call to order at 6 p.m. We called ourselves to order at precisely 6 p.m. here this evening. Item number 3 is our introductions, and we'll also confirm our quorum requirements here this evening as part of that. In order for us to have a duly held meeting here this evening, we have to have a minimum of 25% of the owners of all units here in person or by proxy. I'm doing a final refresh on the screen behind me in the Get Quorum platform. We had 60 proxies submitted in advance. We have 24 eligible units in attendance for a total of 84 units represented. We needed 67 for quorum, so we have far surpassed our quorum requirements, and therefore we can proceed here this evening with the substantive affairs of our meeting. I'm going to go ahead now and introduce your fantastic 5, the members of your board of directors who have taken you through the past several months. And as I introduce them, they're going to go ahead and raise their hand and give you a quick wave. You'll hear from some of them later on during the meeting here tonight. You have your president, Hayden. Good evening, Hayden. Hi, Hayden. And Hayden is joining us from on-screen filming, so thank you so much for being with us here, Hayden, and taking the time out to be here. We also have your Vice President, Cassandra, or Cassie. Hi, Cassie. All right, fantastic. And we have your Treasurer, Sharon. Hi, Treasurer. All right, hi, Sharon. Next, we have your Director at Large, Melvin. Hi, Melvin. And finally, your Secretary, Valerie. Good evening, Valerie. All right. We also have with us your invited guest here this evening. As I said earlier, we have your minute taker with us here tonight. Hello. We had your auditor. It looks like your auditor just accidentally left the meeting, but she will be back in short order, I'm sure. And that is Janet Selwood from Kelly Hubers McNeely. So she'll be right back, I'm sure. Finally, we have your boots on the ground, day-to-day operations property manager, Tasha Perrick, one of the best in the city. You're lucky to have her. So Tasha, welcome aboard. All right, let's move along then to our next item on the agenda. Oh, there's Janet. Hi, Janet. I think you were meant to wave at us and you hit your leave by accident. So there she is. Hi, Janet. We're going to hear from Janet in a few moments with respect to the audited financial statements. In fact, actually, we're going to hear from her now. Item 4 on the agenda is the presentation of the audited financial statements for the year ending January 31st, 2025. Janet, would you like to share your screen or would you like me to share your screen for you? Oh, I'm just going to get you to unmute yourself.
I would love you to share the screen. Sorry, I'm on rural internet tonight. And
no problem. Okay, just give me one quick second. I'm going to get that screen share up in front of us. Folks, you're going to see I'm sharing my screen with respect to the AGM audited financial statements package here. And that is so that you can follow along with Janet as she makes her presentation. I'm just going to increase the content a bit here. Just one second. And then I'll get everybody. How's that for sizing? Thumbs up from the board. Does that look pretty good? Yep. Okay. All right, Janet, I'm turning the microphone over to you. Folks, remember, hold your questions until the end of her presentation.
Thank you so much, Nancy. So on behalf of Kelly Hubers McNeely Professional Corporation, we would like to thank you for having appointed us as your auditor for the current year. We, during the current year, performed both your turnover audit and your year-end financial audit. So this is your year-end financial audit that we will be reporting on this evening. So during the course of our audits, we were able to obtain the information necessary to complete your audit. So in our opinion, the accompanying financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the corporation as at January 31st, 2025, its financial performance, and its cash flows for the period then ended in accordance with Canadian accounting standards for not-for-profit organizations. So this is a clean opinion and the one that you would always wish to have. You will note at the bottom of the following page that these statements were approved by your board of directors on June 12th, 2025 for presentation to you here this evening. So we go now to the statement of financial position. First page with numbers. Nancy, if you can scroll down for me, that'd be great. Awesome. So for someone in their first year of operations, this is a very healthy looking statement of financial position. You have $482,000 of operating cash and $142,500 in your statutory reserve fund. So $625,000 combined. That is a healthy balance sheet. Your accounts receivable at the end of the year, normally you would expect in your building to see that number close to zero. The property manager and your board was working with a very limited number of individuals with assistance from legal as required to bring these accounts current at the end of the year. In terms of your accounts payable and accrued liabilities, there was $186,000. These were tested extensively for cutoff. They are higher. You had a number of invoices that came in late after your year end that had to be subsequently accrued, but we believe that this is a fair representation given the amount of time we had to test this of what the corporation owed at that point in time. So you started the year with nothing and you ended with net assets of $300,599 in operating and $143,399 in your statutory reserve fund at the end of the year. So we can go forward 2 pages and see some of the details on this. So with this being a first year of operations, your budget basically is a builder's budget. So it's what they think or hope. So after you've had some practical, your board moving forward will be able to refine these budgets. So your condominium fees were basically collected as planned. You earned interest revenue on your operating account, and you had small amounts of miscellaneous revenue. You transferred to the reserve fund per the builder's budget. In terms of your expenditures, your audit fees included both your year-end audit and your turnover audit, so came in above budget. Insurance was tested to invoice and for prepaid and cutoff. Your management fees were tested to contract. Your performance audit and your was tested to the contract for that. Your professional fees relate to legal fees for a variety of items in the corporation, including shared facilities and issues on the board. And so you have the charges for your reciprocal and joint use and your CAO fees. And security came in over budget, but those were tested extensively to invoice and cutoff. Superintendent fees, same thing, that was tested for cutoff. In terms of your building operations, you had general repairs and maintenance. There wasn't a lot required, this being a relatively new corporation. You had cleaning services during the year, though that was also tested. Your elevator was that your utilities were all tested to for cutoff and completeness on there. And so at the end of the year, you came out to the good with net revenues of $300,599. We go now to the statement of the statutory reserve. So it's the builder's allocation plus the interest earned on those bank accounts during the year. And that is it. In terms of the notes, in note 5, the adequacy of the reserve fund for major repairs and replacements is note 5. On this, we simply note that you're following the builder's budget because there was not a completed reserve fund study at the time we were reporting to you. Note 6, for those of you who are interested, has major commitments, not every commitment, but major commitments for things like management, for elevator maintenance, for waste management, your security contract, your shared facilities agreement, your joint use agreement, just so that you have some information about those contracts. Once we had finished this audit and subsequent to your board signing off on it, a legal issue came to light. That is not reported here. Normally, if the legal issue had been filed at the time of the audit, there would be a note on these financial statements to that effect. It was not placed on there because paperwork had not been received at the time of this audit. And when it was reported to us, you have one subsequent, and the board or legal counsel can provide information to you on that.
Janet,
they will be limited.
Do you want me to pop in right now on the legal issues?
You please, Nancy, go ahead.
Okay, sure. So your corporation had a small claims court action that was underway over the past year. So that was commenced by an owner in your corporation. And then you also had 3 CAT applications which were commenced throughout this past year. To owners today, you received a PIC, and on that PIC, so it's the periodic information certificate, that periodic information certificate disclosed the actions, the parties to the actions, and the status of those actions. So take a look at that in conjunction with these audited financial statements, and that will give you that information. Quick note, just on the PIC that was issued today, there was a minor calculational error on that. The PIC said that there were 207 rented units. In fact, the actual number, I'm just going to look it up. There are 59 owner occupied units. So it should be the 207 minus the ones owned by Claridge of, 266 minus the ones owned by Claridge. Minus another amount. So your actual owner occupied units are 59 of the 266. So Tasha's confirmed for me that a revised PIC will go out tomorrow with that updated number. So apologies for that, folks. And the legal actions that were ongoing over the past year since your inception are outlined on the PIC. As Janet was saying, some of the information came in after they completed the audit, but all that information is on the PIC, which was issued today. So back over to you, Janet.
That is all that I had to say, but I believe there was a question that probably popped up in Q&A.
I'm going to ask just a quick reminder, folks, we do not monitor the Q&A in the chat for questions. We have to ask you to put your hand up for a question. Once you put your hand up, if you're having technical issues, I will then go to the Q&A and see if the information is in there for me to read it out to you. But if you don't put your hand up, we're going to lose you because it flies by really quickly on the Q&A because people have technical issues, etc., that I need to address for them. So if you can go ahead and put your hand up, it looks like 2409, Jero, you did put your hand up. So go ahead. I'm going to unmute you, Jero, and if you wanted to ask your question.
Hey guys, I understand the first budget was like a basically builder's budget, and that would explain some differences versus actual expense. But there are two lines that were like way over budget, waste
You,
removal and office supplies. Maybe can you add a little bit more detail on those?
yes. Um, so, 5,000 of the fees, that got billed to office and general, were for, they were for some payroll processing and some other things. You had get quorum in there. You had some miscellaneous charges from your previous property manager. And I'm just drilling down to see what I can see. And they charged, your previous contract charges you for office supplies. So there's about $1,600 there. And some, yeah. So that's kind of where that number grew.
Yes, you ended up having 3 meetings instead of 1 last year, as a result of some of the issues that were going on within the corporation, as you'll recall. Or if you weren't here, sorry, you may not have been here. There were 3 meetings due to some issues with respect to a particular board member being removed, and then a follow-up meeting to restore quorum. That resulted in some additional costs with respect to get quorum and other fees. And so it looks like they got into office supplies. So maybe moving forward, it might be that that budget will be revised so that that's broken out to be a little bit more explanatory.
Yeah, because if you just look at the get quorum charges, there's over $6,000 of just get quorum charges
Related
on
to
that.
those meetings. Yeah. So hopefully, Gerald, hopefully that answers your question on that one. And on the waste removal, we have 12,000 versus 2,500. Janet, anything that you can provide for information on that one?
I'm just sorry, I'm going to that page in here. I know that we tested everything for cutoff on that, and it's with Evolution Building Systems, your waste management. It's $841.85 a month, plus some other amounts for additional services like cleaning chute blockages and everything. So it was just a gross underaccrual on the builder's budget, because your commitment just for your 12 months of ongoing fees for the services that building requires comes to $10,102 a year.
Great. No, that's really helpful. Thanks for that, Janet. Jared, does that answer your question?
Appreciate the details.
Great. Thank you so much. And actually, your question was good because it looks like one other person had that same question. So that's great. I think we've answered those questions. So, folks, if there's any other questions that anybody has with respect to the financial statements while we have them in front of us, go ahead and raise your hand and we'll take those questions now. Any other questions with respect to the financial statements while we have them in front of us? We're going to let Janet go in just a moment. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
And Nancy, I would recommend that in future years, office supplies becomes office and miscellaneous.
Again, yeah, I think Tasha was also nodding her head when we were doing that summary. So I think folks, you'll see a better breakdown there. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Janet, thank you so much for attending here this evening. That was terrific and answered all of our questions.
Thank you very much. I'm leaving now.
All right, fabulous. Okay, folks, that takes us right along to the next item on our agenda, which is the appointment of the auditor for this fiscal year. Your board of directors was really pleased with the services provided by Kelly Hubers McNeely over the past year, represented here this evening by Janet Selwood. As you can see, she had the information at her fingertips when doing the presentation and was able to answer those questions well for you. So your board of directors would like to reappoint Kelly Hubers McNeely for one more fiscal year. And what we're looking for now is a mover and a seconder. And the motion from the floor would be to reappoint. All right, we have our first hand raised already. We have Kitan Sontake in 1011. Do we have a seconder for that motion to reappoint Kelly Hubers? We do. Alan Drake in 2406. I'm going to lower all of our hands now, and I'm going to ask, are there any questions with respect to the proposed motion on the floor to reappoint Kelly Hubers McNeely as the auditor for this fiscal year? Any questions? Go ahead and let me know. Any questions? I see no hands being raised, folks. So we're going to launch our first vote of the evening. You're going to see this popping up in front of you in just one quick second, and there you are. The question is, do you approve of the appointment of the auditor at a remuneration to be determined by the board? I can advise that there's no anticipation of increases beyond inflation at most. We'll go ahead and give everybody a couple seconds to to cast their votes. I was going to say to ask their votes, but no, we're going to cast our votes here this evening. So go ahead, I'll start my countdown from 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Ending the poll and sharing the results. There we are, folks. We've got 92% in favor with just a couple of abstentions. We're going to stop sharing that, close that off our screen. We can confirm, therefore, that Kelly Hubers McNeely has now been appointed as your auditor for this fiscal year. We're going to move along to the next item on the agenda. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the draft minutes for the special turnover meeting held on May 16th, 2024. In your package, you had a copy of those minutes from May 16th, 2024. And what we're looking for here is a mover and a seconder to do the following. It's to dispense with reading of the minutes because we don't want to have to read those minutes into tonight's minutes, and to put those minutes on the floor for any corrections that we need to consider as a group. Once we have them on the floor, we'll then ask if there are any corrections. If so, we'll bring them on screen and we'll take care of those corrections together and then vote on approving them with or without amendments. Now, I see we had 2409 had their hand up. I think you're our mover here, Jaros. So thank you so much for that. Do we have a seconder for that? Do we have a seconder? I just need a seconder. Don't be shy. Raise your hand. Our seconder is Hanif in 1001. We had a third as well. Thank you so much, folks. We're going to lower everybody's hands, and I'm going to ask now, are there any corrections that we need to consider as a group here this evening to those first set of minutes from May 16th, 2024? I see no hands being raised, so we're going to launch our first vote on the minutes. You're going to see that popping up in front of you now. This is the minutes for the turnover meeting. Just a quick reminder as we're going through this minutes process, the minutes are not going to be a verbatim summary, obviously. They're just going to be a summary of the actions and motions which happened at the meeting. If there's any corrections, we bring them forward as a group because it has to be the group that decides whether or not a correction is appropriate. I'm going to go ahead and start my countdown on these minutes from 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Ending the poll and sharing the results. There we go, folks. You can see we have 84% in favor with some abstentions. I'll stop sharing that, close that off the screen. Those minutes now form part of the records of your corporation. It'll take us right along to the next set of minutes, which is the draft minutes of the special owners meeting for removal of a director held on November 26, 2025. Can I have a mover and a seconder? We're doing the same thing here. We're going to dispense with reading and put them on the floor for any corrections. So go ahead. I need my mover and my seconder. Go ahead and raise your hand to put them on the floor. I need a mover and a seconder. Don't be shy. There we go. We've got Luisa Nubia in 2106. Thank you so much for that. I need a seconder here. I need a seconder. We've got Alan Drake 2406. Fantastic. So now I'm asking, are there any corrections that we need to consider as a group to that second set of minutes? That's for November 26, 2024. Any corrections we need to consider? I see no hands being raised. We're going to launch our next poll with respect to the minutes. You're going to see that popping up in front of you in just one quick second. And there it is. Give everybody a couple more seconds to cast their vote. That's for the approval of the minutes of the director removal meeting from November 26th. Starting my countdown from 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Ending the poll, sharing those results. There we are, folks. We have 77% in favor, 1 against, and 5 abstentions. Stop sharing that. Close that off the screen. Those minutes have been approved and now duly form part of the records of your corporation. Next, we have the draft minutes of the meeting to restore the quorum of the board of directors, and that was held on December 19th, 2024. Can we do the same thing? I need a mover and a seconder to put them on the floor and to dispense with reading. Go ahead and raise your hands, folks. I need a mover and a seconder. Mover and a seconder. All right. Thank you so much, Luisa and Nubia again. 2106. I need my seconder here. I just need a seconder. I was going to call on you, Alan Drake in 2406, followed by Unit 1001. Thank you so much, folks. We're going to call now. Are there any corrections that we need to consider as a group for those minutes? Any corrections to consider as a group for those minutes? I see no hands being raised. Let's go ahead and launch our final vote on the draft minutes. You're going to see that popping up in front of you now. Go ahead and cast your vote. Once again, we'll give everybody a couple seconds to go ahead and cast their votes here. And then I'll start my countdown from 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Ending the poll, sharing the results. There we are, folks, 83% in favor with a few abstentions. Stop sharing that, close that off the screen, and we have now completed our approval of all of the draft minutes, and all 3 sets of draft minutes now form part of the records of the corporation. That brings us along to the last formal item of business here this evening before we do the general discussion, which is the election of a director. We have 1 position open here this evening for election, and we have 3 candidates. We have 3 candidates. If you are a candidate, you will see that I'm sending you what's called a request to be promoted to panelist right now. So we'll just get you to join us on the panelist side so that you'll have an opportunity to address the meeting here this evening as a candidate. So go ahead and join us as a panelist. All right. So what do we have up for election here tonight? We, in fact, have a 3-year term, which is the owner-occupied position. It's a 3-year term as an owner-occupied position. And that is to fill the term that has been filled by Hayden Baptiste. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask each of the candidates to come forward, tell us all a little bit about themselves. And then we'll ask also to confirm any disclosure, and then we'll move straight to our vote here this evening. Dimitri, I just sent you a request to be promoted so that you could speak to your candidacy. If you wanted to send me a note, I see that you're just declining the request to be promoted. If you wanted to, there we go, we got you. All right, maybe there was just a misunderstanding there. Okay, fantastic. Very good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start with our first candidate, who is Hayden. Hayden, I'm going to go ahead and get you to unmute yourself.
Hello, hello.
How are you today?
I'm good. Hello, everybody.
Everyone looks like they're doing well. I'm just going to go ahead and confirm your disclosure with you here, and you can let me know if there's any changes. You are a registered owner. You are not in arrears, and you live in your unit, correct?
That is correct.
There is nobody, whether yourself or anybody else, who is involved in legal proceedings with the corporation, correct?
That's correct.
You have never been convicted of an offense under the Condominium Act.
No, it's not.
All right. And you have no conflicts of interest with respect to the declarant or with respect to any of the contracts for the corporation, correct?
No, I do not.
All right, fantastic. If you can just go ahead and tell us all just a little bit about yourself in case owners haven't had a chance to read your bio.
Sure. So I've been operating as the president for OCSEC 1106 Moon for the past year. And I would say it's been a pretty good year so far in terms of our financial position. We've had a number of challenges, obviously, in dealing with Claridge, which is where we really want to put our focus on now in terms of just the overall operation, the cleanliness of the building, and a number of other issues that we need to deal with that. I think, we just have to put our energy into that. So that's something that I think if you elect me or choose to elect me, that we'll be putting a lot of attention onto that. And just generally speaking, I think it's been overall, if I'm going to be transparent, challenging in terms of, the Claridge of it all and just the Sky building and being beside them. So, yes, we're definitely working hard with legal and the rest of the team to figure out how to best deal with that entity. And that's essentially it.
Fantastic, Hayden. Thank you so much. All
Thank
right,
you.
folks, that's your current president and candidate for the board of directors. Next, we have Dimitri. Dimitri, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself, you can also turn your camera on. There we are. Fantastic, Dimitri. Hello.
Hello.
I'm just going to confirm your disclosure with you. You have answered that yes, you are an owner of a unit. Yes, you are an occupant of a unit. You said you were in arrears. Is that correct?
I said what? Could you repeat?
You said that you are in arrears of condo fees. I'm wondering, was that an error?
No, it was error.
You owe zero. You're not in arrears of condo fees. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I did correct that with you on screen. Have you ever been convicted of an offense under the Condominium Act? No. You are not involved in any legal proceedings with the corporation, correct? No. Okay. And you have no interest in any contracts or transactions with respect to the affairs of the corporation, correct?
No.
All right. Go ahead and tell us all a little bit about yourself.
Okay, my name is Dmitry Kurchenko. I'm living in this unit nearly 1.5 years. In the past, I was director of the big airport terminal, so I had like 20 years experience of managing big project. I'm retired last year, and actually I have engineering and legal background. And also now I have time because I'm retired. So what I did, I take training for the condominium board participation. Also, I have another property in Mont-Tremblant where I was elected as a board member, as treasurer and secretary. I'm enjoying doing that. So if there is any opportunity how I can help in our building, I'm available. So that's my presentation. Thank you.
Fantastic, Dimitri. Thank you so much. Okay, folks, our next candidate, we have Robert Ty. Robert, go ahead and unmute yourself and you can turn your camera on as well. I'll send you a request to start your video. There we are. Okay, Robert, we're going to go ahead and confirm your disclosure with you. Just going to go ahead one more quick second. So you are an owner, you are not in arrears, and you live in your condo, correct?
Correct.
Okay, you are involved in legal actions with the corporation, correct?
Correct.
You have not been convicted of an offense under the Condominium Act 1998, and you do not have any interest in any contracts or transactions with the corporation, correct?
Correct.
Okay, go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
All right, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Ty, and once again, I am running for election to the board of directors. The main reason I believe I should be elected is because I'm the only unit owner who has investigated and discovered the massive collusion scheme between the current board of directors, all 5 of them, and Claridge Homes, in an effort to enrich Claridge Homes at the expense.
Okay, Robert, I'm
the
going to
condo
stop
unit
you. I'm
owners.
going to stop you
During
here.
my
You
first
are
term as
making,
a director last
folks,
year,
I'm sorry. I'm muting Robert because he is making unfounded allegations of collusion which are inappropriate. Robert, if you wish to speak to your candidacy and why you would be a good candidate as a person on the board, I invite you to do so. But any allegations of fraud or collusion are defamatory against the board members and against Claridge and any other organization at this time. So do not make those allegations. You can speak to your personal qualifications to sit on the board.
During my first term as a director last year, my greatest accomplishment was exposing Sentinel Management as willing participants to this collusion scheme with Claridge Homes.
Again, I'm going to stop you. You are making defamatory comments against Sentinel Management Corporation, which are unfounded and inaccurate. Folks, everybody who is on this meeting here, the reason we are stopping this information from being stated is because, again, it is defamatory, it is unproven, and your corporation can be sued by various third parties for this information being disseminated that is defamatory, unfounded, and inaccurate. Robert, I invite you to speak about your personal qualifications as a member of the board of directors.
Regardless of today's election result, I intend to continue fighting to ensure that Claridge Homes does not exploit our condo community. Finally, if anyone here is interested in learning more about my court application to have an administrator or inspector appointed to our condo, please send me an email and I'll follow up with you. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Robert. Okay, folks, we've just got a quick hand that has popped up. Hayden, go ahead and unmute yourself.
I don't know about any collusion.
Correct, Hayden. Thank you very much. There is no evidence whatsoever of any collusion, any inappropriate actions, any improper affairs of the corporation, your board of directors, any member of the board of directors whatsoever. Hayden, did you want me to go ahead?
I do know that we are all volunteers working in our capacity as board members to serve the building, and I will say that. And I've been enjoying my time, regardless of the alleged collusion.
Great.
Thank
you, Hayden. All right, and for those who are also candidates for the board of directors, be advised that one individual has in the past contacted employers of board members making false allegations. So if that does happen and you become a candidate of the board, obviously legal counsel will deal with that particular matter. Okay, we do have one quick question with respect to the election process from Luisa Nubia. Luisa Nubia, go ahead and unmute yourself. In the meantime, folks, I have opened the votes. I'll show you how to vote in just a quick second, but I'll take this question now. Hi, Luisa Nubia.
Hi, I'm their son representing them, but I live in the unit in question. I just had a question about, so is Hayden gonna, like, if he is successful and wins the election, he'll be both president and board member, or he would resign?
Great question. Yeah, great question. I'll talk about the process for you. Okay, so the way this works, folks, is when you elect somebody, so let's say Hayden is the successful candidate, or Dimitri is the successful candidate, or Mr. Ty is the successful candidate here this evening. They would all kind of go back into the mix with respect to who would become officers of the corporation. So at the first meeting of the board of directors, all of the 5 members will choose who's secretary, who's president, who's treasurer, etc., based on who they feel has the best capacity at that time to fill those officer positions. So you just elect a director tonight, and then after tonight, nobody is president, secretary, etc. They start fresh and determine who's going to fill those roles. So hope that answers your question, Louise. Or, sorry, Luisa Nubia's representative. Terrific. All right, so folks, we have opened the voting. I'm going to show you how to vote here this evening. Just give me a quick second, and I'm going to share my screen with a slide that shows you how you can vote. And basically, a lot of people have already found that particular voting button, so it looks like it's quite self-explanatory for everybody. All right, here we are. I'm going to share my screen. There we are. So on the screen, you will see that there's either a vote tab on the bottom that looks like this. It's either going to look like this, or it's going to look like this, a little envelope at the top right-hand side. Now, if you own your unit but you don't live in your unit, you will not have an opportunity to vote. For the candidates who joined, or the people who joined the board, Robert, or the panelists, Robert and Dimitri, I'm just going to put you back down as an attendee because it's easier for you to find your voting tab as an attendee. So I'm just going to and Dimitri so that you can find your voting tab that way. For all of the other board members, if you have not already voted, I'll be sending you a link in the chat for your voting portal. I see that votes are coming in, which is terrific. Now remember, if you own your unit but you do not live in your unit, you are not permitted to vote here this evening because this is the owner-occupied vote only. So Melvin, I'm putting your link in the chat for you to vote. Next, Valerie, you will be up. Now again, I haven't checked to determine who is and is not owner-occupiers. So if you're not an owner-occupier, you will not be able to vote, and it will tell you that when you go to that link. It'll say you are not eligible to vote or there is nothing for you to vote on. Next, we have each of our board members is getting a link so that they can exercise their vote if they have a right to do so. Now, if you're an owner and you're having trouble voting, what I need you to do is I need you to send me a question in the Q&A saying, hey, I can't access my vote. It's not allowing me to vote. And what I would need to do is I would send you a link in the Q&A to give you a special link to go and cast your vote, okay? So if it says that you're not an owner-occupier, that could be one of the reasons that you're not allowed to vote. So if you don't live in your unit, you won't be allowed to vote. But if you do live in your unit and it's giving you trouble, send me a message in the Q&A. Melvin, I'm just going to resend you your opportunity here. All right, folks, just give me a quick second. Melvin, if you can retry your link. All right. Myrna, I'm taking care of yours right now, so give me a quick second. And folks, if there's anybody else who lives in their unit and is having any difficulty whatsoever accessing their voting platform, send me a message in the Q&A, and I will help you out by sending you a direct link. So Myrna, watch the Q&A there, and you should see that popping up, and you can access your link there. Melvin, you should be able to access your link. And Valerie, you've got yours. Hayden, you've got yours. Sharon, you've got yours. All right. Oh, Cassandra. Okay, Melvin, let me just do a quick refresh here, and I'll send you a fresh link, okay? And Cassandra, yours is coming as well. And oh, there we go. So yeah, it's not letting you access the link here, Melvin, just as a owner, not an owner occupier. There we go. All right, and we have. So folks, just a quick reminder, if you're not an owner occupier, then you're not able to vote in this particular election here this evening because it's only for the owner occupiers. Only for the owner occupiers to vote here this evening. All right, so Myrna, just going to make sure that we get your vote cast here. Myrna, if you don't live in your unit, you won't be able to vote. Okay, Myrna, I'm just going to, yeah, so Myrna, if your son lives in the unit, that's why you're not able to vote. So that makes sense that you're not able to access your vote then. Good news, folks, you can see the system is working properly. So people who do not live in the unit are not able to access the voting platform. So there we go. All right, we're going to go ahead and refresh. Just a couple more minutes, folks. We're just about there. All right, if there's anybody else who's having any trouble accessing their voting platform, please go ahead and let me know. So folks, the question is, well, we voted in the past, how can we vote now? That's a great question, and I'll answer that. Because you guys have 22% of the units that are owner occupied, so people live in the unit, that means one position on the board of directors is reserved as an owner occupied position. All 4 other positions, everybody's going to get to vote on next time. But this one particular position is for the owner occupied position, and only owners who live in the units get to vote on that position. So rest assured, you will get your voting rights for all of the other 4 positions. Don't worry about that. All right, just one quick sec. We're just taking care of one final item here for a voter. Just one second, folks. We have just one more to go. And then we'll be able to close out the voting process. Okay. So if you are still waiting on the opportunity to vote, go ahead and check your message. And we're just about to close that out. And as soon as we close out the voting process here, folks, we will then move to the general affairs question. All right. We have the results of our election here, folks, and we're going to go ahead and congratulate Hayden Baptiste on the re-election to the board of directors. Congratulations, Hayden, on your re-election. Thank you to all of our candidates who put their name forward. Hayden, go ahead and unmute yourself.
There we go. Sorry, I just want to say thanks, everybody. We will make sure that this next year is everything's running smoothly, hopefully, and then when see many improvements, we welcome all of your feedback, questions. We'll look to getting some committees going and get organized here. Thank you very much.
All right, terrific. Thank you, Hayden. Okay, folks, now we're going to go to the final item on your agenda, which is our general discussion. Now, if you have any questions with respect to the affairs of the corporation, we'll take those now. Just a quick reminder, if you have any questions that are only related to just your unit, so it's just your unit that's affected, you have a new property manager, Tasha. Tasha's sitting right in the middle of my screen right now. There she is. So you have a new property manager, Tasha. You're going to want to reach out to Tasha if you have unit-specific questions. So if it's only about your unit, reach out to Tasha. Tonight, it's if you have questions about the general affairs of the corporation. So our first question is Unit 2106. Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Thank you. I was wondering if you could provide more details on. I was looking at the documents that you shared, and that the condominium has a case against Claridge in front of the court. So if you could provide some context to that, that would be great.
Sure. So that is a potential case with respect to the initial agreement. So there's a shared facilities agreement that was negotiated as between, or not, sorry, that was put into place with respect to the various shared elements of your condominium corporation and another one. And that application is really right now just a holding application in the event that the corporation was required to move forward with it in the event that the parties couldn't come to terms on the cost sharing agreement. The good news is right now, as far as we're aware, Claridge is willing to negotiate and you're in a position to continue those negotiations. And it looks good that there's going to be some fruitful negotiations. So that application is just holding, just in case we had to move forward. Okay, is that helpful?
Yep, thank you.
Great, terrific. Okay, our next question is Robert in 1311. Robert in 1311, go ahead and ask your question.
According to the BOD meeting minutes, Melvin Lee missed 3 consecutive BOD meetings which were held on May 1st, June 13th, and June 27th. Why has Melvin Lee not resigned from the board of directors since he has clearly demonstrated a lack of interest in the proper governance of our condo community?
Okay, and that's actually incorrect that he's demonstrated a lack of interest in the governance of the community. Again, if you look at the provisions of the condominium declaration, bylaws, etc., it's if individuals miss meetings without reasonable excuse or a reasonable other commitment. So I'll let Hayden speak to it, but otherwise Melvin Lee is completely engaged in the affairs of the corporation, attends all meetings, and just temporarily was not able to attend that particular meeting. Hayden, did you want to add anything to that?
I mean, you pretty much said what I was saying. I mean, the amount of hours we put in off regular hours while juggling our jobs, I can assure you that Melvin is very present, and he works very hard while juggling his profession. So I don't necessarily agree with that statement, but question,
Great.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Terrific, thanks. And Melvin, you want to add to that? Go ahead.
I don't understand. I don't think that Robert understands that I am a healthcare professional. And as a dentist, I do have to attend to emergencies and affairs with my patients. As board members, we are volunteers on this board, and we do give up our extra time. However, if there are matters that pertain to my dental clinic that pertain to dental care, including after-hours care, I do need to attend to those.
Thank you, Melvin. And I know that everyone is grateful as a healthcare professional that must take priority. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for your question, Robert. We'll move over to our next hand. Our next hand is over to Young May in 1710. Go ahead, Young May.
Hi, good evening. So can you hear me well?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I just want to, based on the healthy report of the financial report, I'm just wondering if the condo fee will be increased in next year. I'm not sure if this is the right question to ask here, but I just wanted to concern. So that's the concern from us. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Young May. I'm not sure if your board of directors is going to be in a position to answer that, but I'll see if anybody has any ideas whether or not the budget process has been started for the next fiscal year. So it hasn't, Cassandra? Okay, it looks like Cassandra's saying the budget process has not yet been started for the next fiscal year. So Young May, in the next couple of months, your board of directors and your property manager will start put together the budget for the next fiscal year. And in the next couple of months, you'll have a better idea of where you're going to sit. You did have a good year last year, but as you heard from some of the answers with respect to the financial statements, some of the items will have to be adjusted in the budget. For example, the waste management removal, right? That was under budgeted by the first year budget. So that's going to be a minimum $10,000 some dollar increase. Other items may be a little bit less expensive. We don't know. So leave it to your board of directors over the next couple of months to put that together. And as soon as they have information, they'll send that out to you. Hayden, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I just want to add that this first year, we're really just kind of learning the spending patterns. So I think that's a big part of it. Obviously, none of us want to increase condo fees, but we do have to keep in mind the reserve fund and just making sure that some of these longer term, repairs or whatnot that might have to be dealt with are factored into this. So it's a great question, but at the moment, we don't have a clear answer on that. I'll say hopefully not.
Great. Thanks,
Yeah.
Hayden. Young May, thank you for your question.
Yeah, so just another question about it. So how we can just contact the board members? I mean, the emails or any contact method will be released at somewhere? Sorry
So
about that. I didn't
yeah,
know.
no, that's a good question, actually, Young May. So Tasha's going to send out, or she may have already sent out, a contact information summary. So how to contact Tasha. So just we make sure that individuals don't contact the board members directly, because these board members are volunteers, and so that's why you have a property manager. Your property manager takes all of the email communications, all of the questions, all of the calls, etc. The property manager brings that to your board of directors at the monthly meetings, or more urgently if necessary, and then your board of directors works behind the scenes with Tasha to take care of the affairs of the corporation. But because your board members are volunteers, their personal email addresses are not sent out. Tasha, did you want to add to that?
I did. So the board does have their own email address, a
Oh,
Gmail
but
address.
corporation email addresses, right?
Exactly. So the
Yeah.
board members all have access to this email address. So if any owners want to reach out to the board directly, they can use this email address.
And you'll send that
Okay.
out again?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can
would
send that
you-
out again. There
Okay.
are postings in the building on site with that email address, as well as on the website. I can send it out again.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Very-
Young May.
Thank you.
I'm sure
That's for me. Thanks.
That's great. Thank you so much. All right. Okay, so next we have Unit 2106. Unit 2106, go ahead and ask your question.
Thanks. I just wanted to ask about like the cleanliness in the building generally, and then also in the common areas. One thing we've noticed quite regularly in like the shared space, I guess with Sky or whatever the building is called, there's always boxes on the P1 floor on a weekly basis, and quite just general uncleanliness of that kind of P1 area. And then also just kind of the P2 lobby elevators. It's kind of we've seen it quite messy in the past couple of weeks, so just kind of wanted to flag that, and if there's anything that the condos board is doing in regards to kind of just the P1 cleanliness with the other adjoining building. Thanks.
Sure. Hayden's got his hand up. Hayden, over to you.
Yeah, so with regards to the cleanliness of the building, let's remove the Sky side of it, because you're observing what we're all observing. So I think the main thing there is we've done some shuffling around in terms of our staffing. So we've had Jenny King handling most of the cleaning at the moment as a substitute, more or less. And what we'd like to do is implement a super to kind of supervise everything and make sure that they have, processes, systems that, they will do day to day. I think we're going to have an additional cleaner that's brought on to help our current cleaner. The idea was at first we were going with one, and everybody seemed confident that one could do it, but clearly, just as we've kind of observed the patterns over the year, one is not enough. So we think we're going to probably have a second cleaner and add that additional super. We've attempted to hire some supers. We just didn't feel it was the right fit. We really want somebody that can manage the cleaners and a lot of the staff, and just make sure that we're getting to a lot of the stuff that has to do with the Moon building. As far as the Sky part of it, I think everyone who has a vehicle and has been in that parking lot should be a little bothered by that. So we've had little to no communication with Sky and many attempts to get this resolved. We've even walked them through the building, shown them their own garbage areas, showed them how it's potentially impacting the building. And I think the issue there is really just what I mentioned, we're having problems with Claridge and accountability. And I think that's where we need to put our energy and our efforts is just get a lot of that stuff straightened out. So I think like that's probably, for me, one of my biggest concerns and issues is just, this building was sold as a luxury condominium experience. And I think we all invested with that understanding. And so far, if I'm being honest, I feel like we're only about 50% of the way there. We really want to clean things up. So I think like that's something we have to figure out between our conversations with the board, homeowners, whatever you're seeing. Well, I mean, I'm sure you guys have all seen the mattresses. You've seen the personal belongings on those P1 and P2 levels. Our levels are relatively clean, and it says a lot. And I think that's due to the fact that we do have the cleaning staff. I think it's my assessment that, and the board's assessment that Sky is, significantly understaffed. They're being cheap, in my opinion, and I think we need to put pressure on whoever will be the property manager over there to match us in terms of security. And factor in, of course, that we have a grocery store, going into the building that's going to have a number of foot traffic and other concerns. Even though it's wonderful to have a grocery store underneath the building, there are a lot of considerations there as well. So lots to do in terms of our organization and just getting these systems in place. And I think finding the right people to address those issues, because yeah, we're seeing your emails and we're doing our best to address it, with the right people and figuring out how to get through the sky in Claridge.
Hey, Melvin, did you want to add to that?
Yes, and I do appreciate the unit owners' comments on these things. Trust me, we have observed these exact same issues, and we as a board have tried to address them. Without going into too much detail, I mean that the situation, the problems that arose earlier this year did give us enough, in my opinion, rationale to consider a new management company. And I must say, Tasha and her company in CMG have been very, very proactive in addressing this concern and many other concerns. And I'm very hopeful that many of these, truly these basic problems will be resolved. And I'm also hopeful as a fellow unit owner that the luxury condominium experience that I was hoping for, we as your board and also the new management company will be definitely working together in collaboration and in cooperation to achieve that.
Great. Thanks, Melvin. All right, we had one particular owner who might have missed the explanation with respect to owner-occupied units. So I'm just going to confirm once more. The owner-occupied unit position is required by the Condominium Act. It's not your board of directors or your particular governing documents that put this into place. It's the Condominium Act 1998 that requires that once a minimum of 15% of the units are occupied by owners, one position must be reserved for only owners who live in their units to vote on. The other 4 positions, everybody gets to vote on. So the next round, folks, everyone's going to get to vote. All right, we had a final question. Alan, I see your hand was up and it just popped down again. So let's just go ahead and I'll read that question in for you, Alan. I think you had just a little technical glitch on your hand there. So from 2406, Alan, the question is, I'm interested in knowing more about the balcony inspections, if someone can provide an overview on what was done and where we are at. So I'm not sure if that's Hayden or Tasha, if you have any information about that. Should I start with Hayden?
Yeah, I believe that I was told that has to move to the second year, because I also have to get my balcony, whatever it is. Sorry, I'm horrible with the construction terms. My apologies, but whatever finishing that they have to do on the balcony, essentially, I was told that they'll deal with the audit stuff first, and then they'll be getting to the balconies. If I'm correct, and sorry, don't quote me on this, but I believe it was a second year thing. But I can answer that question for you at a later time. Alan.
I can speak to what I know.
Okay, sure.
I have been meeting with Claridge 1 or 2 days a week to grant access to units for some of the first year performance audit items. Hayden, I think you're talking about the brush coating for the balconies.
Thank you, brush coating.
Yeah, brush coating. So I think there are 12 units on their list right now to complete. So it's just a matter of coordinating access and having those repairs done. If anybody has questions about their unit specifically, feel free to reach out to me and I can check on the repairs they're trying to schedule right now versus what they're pushing till after the second year performance audit.
And if I recall, Alan, I just want to make sure that your unit should be inspected for that brush coating. And I believe at one point, was it around June or July, you have to send in like some photographs of your balcony, and then they're going to be able to look at it and assess whether or not it requires that brush coating.
So I guess, Alan, if you haven't already done so, reach out to Tasha and make sure you've got the necessary photographs submitted. Great. That's fantastic. Okay, folks, any final questions? We'll take those now. We have any final question? I see no hands being raised, folks. Do we have, we just had one. Oh, there's a hand pop up, but then it's popping up and going down, so I didn't see who it was. Oh, no, I don't know where it went. Okay. So we'll go ahead and we'll ask then. Oh, there's Kevin. Okay, 1705. So Kevin, go ahead and unmute yourself.
I just wonder if the nor the owner-occupier unit can vote for the other candidate, I mean directly,
Yes.
that do not
Yes.
live there. Why we cannot vote on the owner-occupier unit candidate directly?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So when it comes to the general directors, everybody gets to vote. But for the owner occupier position, the act, it's the legislature. It's nobody else except the government who said for those particular positions, just the one owner occupier position, it's only the owners who live in their units that vote. So we can't change that. There's nothing we can do to change that. That's the law that says that, okay?
Can you list that in the minutes so that I can have a reference sometime?
Yeah, section 56 sub 8 of the Condominium Act. So that'll
Can
be
you
in
write it
that.
down
Yeah,
somewhere?
that'll be in the minutes. But yeah, it's section
Okay, good.
56 sub
Thank
8
you.
of the Condo Act. All right, great. Thank you so much, Kevin. All right. So Robert, you have your hand up, but it's not popping up for me. But I'm going to go ahead and if you want to unmute yourself and ask your question, go ahead.
On June 15th, 2025, I sent an email to CBC Go Public and alleged that Cassandra Liu is a puppet of Claridge Homes because her
Okay, once
actions
again, I'm
demonstrated
going
this
to
fraud.
mute you. These are unfounded allegations against someone personally that is completely inappropriate, Robert. There is no merit to this whatsoever, no evidence whatsoever. There is no collusion. And Cassandra is an employee and there's no collusion whatsoever. These are completely inappropriate. You will not be unmuted again because you're asking inappropriate questions or making inappropriate statements. Cassandra, over to you if you wanted to make any comments.
I just wanted to say that I just still find it very inappropriate that he's reaching out to our personal workplace, our place of employment. It would be great if he could stop, especially since this is the second person on the board that he has done this to. And this is, once again, a volunteer position. I don't think anyone should be reaching out to anyone's employers at work. So.
Agreed, Cassandra. Thank you very much. Very absolutely inappropriate for anybody to reach out to someone's employer about a volunteer position with meritless and unfounded accusations. Melvin, you had your hand up first.
Yes, I actually, I think several times in a public forum, Robert has attacked us personally and individually. I will be considering the possibility of considering legal action for these actions committed tonight.
Yep, thank you, Melvin. Hayden, go ahead.
Not much more to say on this. I just, I think we've got to cover in the newsletter. I hope everyone can appreciate it. It is a volunteer capacity, and I certainly assure you that there isn't any collusion, that there's no benefit in dealing with Sentinel or Claridge or whatever for the board. It would be totally offside and totally insane and unprofessional. So I just want to be crystal clear on this again. I know that this continues to be an issue on our call. It is costing the board and the corporation, in terms of just forget even the personal attacks. It's costing us legal costs, which are costing you, the homeowners. And seeing as we're just opening up this elephant in the room, I just want that to be clear. That these any questions regarding the board, please feel free to reach us by email, or if we need to organize and have another call a meeting, whatever. We'll be very transparent and forthcoming. It's just, please do not contact people's place of work. It is very unprofessional and unsafe, and it is harassment. And we've been patient and we've been kind, but it's just a breaking point with everybody. And I just want to assure you all, you're in good hands, whether it's me here, Cassie here, Melvin here, somebody else entirely. Everyone should always care about the interest of the building, and legal fees are not helping the cause. Someone had mentioned not wanting, property fees to go up. These are the kinds of silly costs that are, if they're unwarranted and unchecked, are very costly things. So a property lawyer is not, a light cost here. It is a heavy cost to the budget. Thank you.
Thanks, Hayden. I can assure you, as legal counsel, we want to deal with issues that are building related, that are construction related. We want to get you moving forward. We don't want to be dealing with unfounded, meritless accusations against good people doing volunteer jobs. So let's hope we can move forward without that. We do have one other really good question here from 2106. They had their hand up. Any update on the gym and theater room? I understand more equipment was being bought. Anybody who can answer that? All right, Cassandra, go ahead.
So I could respond in base of the gym. So we had purchased equipment back in May. So I believe it was a rack, a leg machine, and a bench. Those would be shipped early August. The reason for the delay is they were waiting for the bench or the leg press to come in before they ship all 3 equipment. So we'll be seeing that very soon.
Great. Thank you, Cassandra. And Hayden, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, and on that note, if there's anything, once again, that might be an interesting asset for the building or just something for just pure leisure or joy, you know, obviously the whole point of this money is not for profit. So if there's anything that we can do and we're able to do it, please just send any suggestions to the email. Because yeah, we want a fun environment as well. It's not all just, you know, fees and whatnot and running the budget.
Fantastic. That's just great. All right, folks, are there any final questions with respect to the affairs of the corporation? We'll take those now. I see no hands being raised. So what I'm going to look for is a final motion to close out our meeting. Oh, we had Gyro in 2409. Gyro in 2409.
Hey guys, now I just wanted to say thank you. I know it's a thankless job, and most of the work you guys do is behind the scenes. We don't see it, but we feel when we notice you guys are working hard. I don't think I could do the job you do, honestly, on top of my job, on top of family stuff, on top of everything else that happens in life. So just wanted to say that I appreciate it, and I'm sure other owners appreciate the job you do. Love you guys.
Thank you, Gyro. And that really does go a long way. Hayden, over to you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks, Jero. And yes, we are still enjoying ourselves, and you know, it is a lot of work, but it's also we do enjoy the work that we're doing. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you, Hayden. One final question did pop up from 2601. Is there any increase in the window cleaning budget to address residue left on windows from construction? Tasha, did you want to speak to that quickly?
Sure. So the window cleaning, is scheduled for the middle of August through Cody Building Services. As far as I know, it's not a post-construction clean. I'm not sure if that's required for your building or if you've had a full window cleaning done just yet, but the board and I have a meeting tomorrow, so we can discuss that a little bit further.
Fantastic, Tasha. Terrific. Okay, folks, that was our last substantive question. I'm going to ask, are there any questions or any individuals who'd like to make a motion to adjourn our meeting here tonight? We do have our first hand raise, Unit 2106. Thank you so much, Louise. Our seconder is 2406, Alan. I'm going to go ahead and launch our last poll of the evening here to close out our meeting. Go ahead and cast your votes. Go ahead and cast your votes. We'll give everybody a couple more seconds to do so. I'll start my countdown from 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Ending the poll, sharing those results. All right, folks, we have 92% in favor, just 2 abstentions. I'll stop sharing that, close that off the screen. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending here this evening. It was a terrific meeting. Be safe, be well, and we'll see everybody.